our partnership.
Sounds good. Thank you for having us, Chris.
Yep.
So Long Island Blockchain Council is a non-for-profit organization where we're trying to bring together the blockchain community, and we are blockchain agnostic. Ultimately, what we are looking to do is gather the community across Long Island and then identify the people that are interested in getting involved. Each entity that starts to become part of the Long Island Blockchain Council, we will offer our counsel and advice, and we'll offer our community services. Chris has set up EOS Long Island, and Long Island Blockchain Councils will also be hosting a couple events. Next week, we have one on blockchain vendor payment services. And the long and short of what we're looking to do here is share.
Going on right here. No, this is a virtual meeting here. Oh.
Yep.
Just me and you right now.
So that's my spiel.
Mm-hmm. We're right over here. If you want to join in this over here.
And what do you
okay, Nick, why don't you step up? Nick is my partner on Long Island Blockchain.
Sure. Did you bring any laptop or anything at all?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I just caught my attention.
So somebody is screen sharing, yes?
Yes, that would be Nick. Nick, I think, may have walked away from his desk. So, Thomas, why don't you jump on and introduce?
Is this a weekly thing? Did this just stop?
Oh, you know what? Sorry, guys. I was actually muted. This is Nick Salvaggio.
Okay, now we hear you. Hi, Nick.
We're flip-flop. So guys, I just want to say thank you for getting connected. This is Nick Salvaggio, Craig's partner here, and we're excited. This is kind of one of the largest virtual meetups. We still have people coming on. So we're going to see how this works. This is a bit of an experiment, so we appreciate you guys being patient with us as we kind of work through any bugs that happen here. But we're really just trying to get people together in the area and in the broader area and just kind of talk about the technology, learn together, and share our ideas. So welcome, and I'm looking forward to this.
And whoever's sharing their screen might want to not do that because all we're seeing is a screen share of the meeting that we're already in.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna stick on this then.
There we go.
That makes more sense. I was wondering why I was seeing.
Yeah, well, you know, somebody, maybe Craig or yourself, maybe somebody else can share because I have to bring people into the meeting, so I have to keep flipping back to that screen.
Right.
I don't have the app installed to screen share.
Okay, so I'm just I'll take off the screen share then because it's not. I kind of have to be on the screen a little bit.
Yeah, maybe it'll get rid of some of the lag.
Cool.
Oh, look at that. So much better.
All right, Tanner, welcome.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Can you hear us, Tanner?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're just going through introductions, so maybe you want to introduce yourself and what you got going on. How you doing?
Oh, okay. Are there like any? Is there like a format? Or I'll just go. Hi, my name is Tanner. I'm a student here at Stony Brook University in Long Island. I met Chris at the last EOS Meetup event at Launchpad Huntington, and we shared some ideas about EOS, and we're both fans of Dan Larimer. That's how we got into it. And yeah, is there anything else you want me to share?
No, that's just it. Just quick introductions. Anybody else like to introduce themselves? I got a couple people here with me as well.
Sure. This is Dan. My name is Danda. I'm actually joining you all from Malaysia at the moment. I've been kind of a virtual member of the Long Island blockchain community when I approached Chris to try to be involved in some of the early meetings that you guys had. So I've been kind of on the lookout for a good place to park myself when I come back to the States. I've been in Asia for many years now, almost 12, but I have a daughter that's moved back to New York, so I'm planning to come back that area And I've got some very engaged EOS-based projects going on here. Just came back from New Zealand where our team is there. We have a project in association with EOS Oceana, the blockchain producer out there. And just have been gathering some great team, and we've got some demos kind of in the work on a project we call FreeOS. And you'll hear more about that, but we're still kind of getting our team together, and that's the reason why I'm kind of here to talk to you all, is to find people of like mind and who are good and look to round out the group of people that we need to run our operation.
Welcome, Dan. Thanks for joining.
Welcome, Dan.
Hey, Dan.
Hello.
All right.
Should I go?
Yeah.
My name is Akash. Hi, everybody.
Hi. Hey, Josh. We can hear you.
I'm a part of the Long Island JavaScript group. I was right at Huntington yesterday. I believe, Craig, were you there yesterday? I don't know, remember seeing Craig.
Yesterday I was there for a little bit. I wasn't at the JavaScript meetup, sorry.
Right. I'm a computer engineer by degree and by profession. I work here. I recently moved to Long Island for a job. I work at a subsidiary company of information builders. We specialize in risk management information systems for construction companies and mostly insurance clients who basically they could file their insurance claims using our software. So in short, we are a SaaS company. And I'm pretty much into tech. I love programming in Java and JavaScript. Blockchain is something that's kind of new I'm getting into, and I would love to learn more what you guys have, whatever is out there. One thing that I'm really wishing to get into is cryptocurrency. Hopefully could start mining and doing something cool with that. I recently graduated from my master's in cybersecurity as well from Villanova in PA. So that was a really hot experience for me, getting more of my hands wet in tech. And it's really going an amazing ride, and hoping to learn as much as I can.
Yeah, cybersecurity is huge. It's going to be big over the next 10, 20 years for sure.
Yep.
Welcome, Akash. We're looking forward to introducing you to some of the cryptocurrency. Be happy to teach you more.
Oh, thank you. I really look forward to that.
All right, so I have a couple. You guys see me?
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a couple people here. Maybe you want to introduce yourself?
Sure.
Yep.
Hi guys, I'm John. First time here. I'm just a EOS enthusiast. Discovered BitShares and Scheme.it, and then big fan of Dan Larimer as well. And I just wanted to come to a meetup so I can actually talk to people who know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
At it. I'm trying to talk to her about this stuff. So yeah, just trying to get into the community a little bit, and I'm in it, but I'm not social in it. So kind of like I just wanted to get out there and meet some people. So
Perfect. Great to have you.
Awesome. Welcome, Chris.
John.
I'm probably not just got a startup going in virtual. Deep visual immersion is my product, and I likely see me interacting with clients potentially and using blockchain as a way to secure the information and the data sets that we interact with. So it's the blockchain that brought me here, and I'm going to get my head around it.
Mm-hmm.
And even Jamie Dimon of Chase has cursed Bitcoin and other virtual currency, but he embraces blockchain. So it's quite a tool, and I just thought that this would be a great place to get involved and find out as much as I can in a practical manner about the usage, how it's implemented, who does it. Do you go to Walmart or something and buy a blockchain? Do you order it? Do you service?
All right, well, you came to the right place. Perfect. Or does anybody else? We got anybody else there, Nick?
No, I think that's.
I'm happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thomas
Yeah.
Scott.
Yeah, my name's Thomas Cox. I worked for Dan Larimer at Block One for about 9-10 months. Dan was employee number one at the EOS LLC, which is separate from the Hong Kong operation. My boss, David Moss, was employee number two, and I was number three. And then once we launched in June, I completed my service there and departed amicably to go do new things, building on top of EOS. And so I rejoined David Moss at a new company called StrongBlock, which is building enterprise solutions on top of the EOS software. I'm also very active in EOS mainnet governance, and part because I helped to architect some of the details under Dan's direction. And I've been working as the executive director of the EOS Alliance since it was announced in July until today. I'm looking forward to completing that service and going full-time on StrongBlock pretty soon, though. So that's me. And I do have to cut out of here in half an hour, just FYI.
No worries, no worries.
So I think we made our introductions, and Thomas, you brought up something that I'm looking forward to talking about is the enterprise solutions. I'm familiar with more of the Ethereum protocol, and I know I've worked in one of the financial programs, and they ultimately eliminated or postponed using Ethereum as their solution because it wasn't anonymous enough. It was pseudo-anonymous where you could always be able to see the wallet ID, and by seeing the wallet ID, draw enough conclusions. Yep. So does EOS do something to, circumvent?
Well, interesting question. So I'll tell you, out of the box, if you go to the MIT open source license software on GitHub, you won't find strong anonymity from the base code. What you will, if you look closely, there's a number of people who have rolled out solutions. I think Frios might be one. I can't remember the name of them. Privios maybe, who have what they claim is a very strong privacy solution on mainnet. And another one is an outfit called Iryo, spelled IRYO, India, Romeo, Yankee, Oscar. And they have, I think, the most interesting approach because they secure the access rights to data on the blockchain and keep the actual patient data. They're a patient record management outfit. They keep the patient record information off-chain in multiple redundant encrypted places. And then when you use the blockchain to say, I, Thomas, grant access to my medical record to Chris for the duration of today's visit, and then Chris logs into, as a doctor, he logs into his computer, and as long as his browser session's live, he's allowed to look at, even make entries to my record, but he can't make his own copy. He can't farm it, harvest it, resell it. And as soon as we're done with the session, he can't go back in and change things. So
he can't change it, but can he see the transactions that you may have done against your identification?
As long as we're in the visit, yes.
And then once the visit is over,
history, he can't get back. He can't go trawling through my data unless I give him.
But he may not be able to actually see your medical data, but can he see that you called upon it? Just because there was a transaction ID on the Block Explorer, every time, if there were 50 people that called on your medical records, would he be able to see that 50 people called upon your medical records?
You'd have to check the Iryo implementation. I don't know if they consider that privileged information or not.
Okay.
But it's a good question. Blockchains, as I think most of us here know, are notorious for being, everybody can read everything on them, and that leaves them very susceptible to traffic analysis. And so if you're not using, zero knowledge proofs, if you're not implementing a Monero or a Zcash type thing, you're really opening yourself up to pattern discovery. And I don't know who is porting zero knowledge proofs to EOS, but somebody needs to.
Okay.
There's a lot of headroom available there for improvements on the privacy side.
Okay.
Interesting.
I'm very interested in the application of EOS in two different domains, but the second domain, which I didn't mention at all, is I've been contracted to come to work with a provider of infrastructure to the energy companies here in Malaysia. And the applications, of course, is, dominant application for blockchain, of course, is in the energy domain. And I'm just kind of new to EOS in the energy domain and seeing whether it is really an applicable solution. I know that there's some that have, obviously I think it's better, but I've seen many organizations whom I respect deeply, the Energy Web Foundation and Rocky Mountain Institute, that's doing some really good work with energy and blockchain. And they're on the Ethereum blockchain, which to me just seems like a dead end with regard to high transaction rates and the kind of resolution that we need in the energy sector. I'm just wondering if anybody has any comments about anything going on in EOS with regard to the energy sector.
I'm aware of at least one project that's EOS-based. I couldn't tell you the name offhand. There is or was a clearinghouse of projects, and if I can find the pointer to that clearinghouse, I'll get that to you. I was on a call with the IEEE Blockchain Standards Group earlier this week, and that standard is P2418, P2418, and there's a whole bunch of .1, .2, .3s through there. And what I didn't realize is there's a completely separate IEEE standard, P825, which is the transactive energy standard. A guy named Paul Heitman was on the call, and he and I are having some conversations about the mashup between blockchain and the transactive energy standard. You're not going to do energy control on a blockchain because that's millisecond stuff. You know about this better than me, trying to balance power loads across grids.
Absolutely. We're talking transaction level.
Yeah, but if you're going to buy and sell on and off the grid, at the edge of the grid, there's a number of people who are looking at ways to use blockchains to secure those. And so, yeah, if there isn't an EOS-based effort, I'd be shocked.
Yeah. Okay. Well, looking for it. So if anyone hears of it, please let me know. But thank you, Thomas. I'll look into that.
Yeah.
About the IEEE.
Other thoughts or questions? Because I've got
any topics anybody would like to go over. I know I would like to kind of touch on governance and where we are with the referendum and how
the floor is yours.
Coming out. Maybe get your thought.
Well, the referendum code was not delivered by Block 1. We, in late May and into June, had to triage which features were ready to be launched and which ones had to be put aside, and referendum was not ready. And fortunately, a lot of very talented people from EOS Canada and EOS Nation and a bunch of others got together and wrote some community code that has now been accepted by the block producers and put into production. So if you go to most voting portals these days, you can vote not just for block producers on mainnet, you can also vote for referenda. Two things about the referendum. One, the voter turnout is still pretty low. And between the low turnout for referenda and the relatively slow response by voters to the behavior of block producers, most voters seem indifferent to what most block producers do most of the time. What that tells me is we don't have the activist voting that Dan and I both expected, and in fact kind of depended on in the initial design for the DPoS running of the EOS mainnet. So we are going to have to explore how the community can make use of things like referenda. Even if you don't get the 15%, can you still draw meaningful conclusions about what the community wants or will tolerate? And there's actually a sort of a grassroots movement afoot to redefine the social contract, to use referenda as a signaling tool rather than as a command and control tool. So we'll see how that plays out. All communities evolve. I see that as being one of the earliest things likely to evolve in some interesting way in the next few months.
Yeah.
Why do you think there's such a low voter turnout? Is it a challenging thing to actually
I'll say
participate in?
exactly why. A very large percentage of tokens are held by a very few wallets, and they aren't activist, fanboys like a lot of us who, get on Telegram every day and think that the EOS mainnet is a really interesting thing to pay attention to all the time. They are typically, apparently, either investors or they have some other agenda, and for them, voting is uninteresting. And I know of at least one very large holder who has made it clear that he had no intention of voting on anything, for anything, for at least the first 6 months until things had matured a little bit. So we might see some more whales show up. I've been trying myself, just with my EOS Alliance hat on, to get in touch with large holders to say, hey, what's important to you, and are you voting? Would you please vote? Voting is important. And the ones who aren't voting have no intention of changing that.
So a way to maybe circumvent it, I've been looking a lot at the Decred network, and what they end up doing is they buy the tickets, so therefore you're immediately an active participant, and then you don't have a low voter turnout. You actually have specifically the ticket voters.
Yep.
Is that something you guys have considered?
Well, don't say us guys. I'm outside of the creative.
You.
I am an educated bystander at best.
Okay.
I'm in no position of power or authority, nor do I wish to be. And I have talked to folks on various YouTube interviews and also on Telegram about the Decred approach, that it has an interesting way of people self-identify as interested voters. Decred gives you a reward for the active voting, but you have to buy the ticket in order to be considered. Yep. And then it's a random selection among ticket holders. And then once your ticket's drawn, if you fail to then vote, you actually lose a award. You lose some money, but if you do follow through on your commitment to vote, then you get a piece of the block award. So it's an interesting combination of randomization and incentivization and self-selection of people who care about the direction of things. And
it pulls the speculators out of the pool.
Yeah, because you have to lock your money up for like 2 weeks. So it definitely moves the speculators off to one side, unless, of course, one thing Dan pointed out to me back in May was, and the reason we moved the lockup period from 6 months for voting down to 3 days, is it's going to become increasingly easy to short tokens off the chain. So I can buy some tokens on chain and then do destructive things that crash the price of the token because I've got a much longer short position outside the chain.
Yeah.
And so it's like, not sure what to do about that. So that looked like a one of several reasons to shorten the lockup period. I think 3 days might be too short, though. I think a week might be better. But hey, we'll see. Yeah, the appetite of the community for rapid, large changes to anything, we might be a little quicker to change than, say, Bitcoin, but we're still going to be pretty slow to change mainnet. I think we're going to see most of the interesting experimentation done on side chains of various kinds, like BOS and Ono and Telos and Warbly and some of those others. Yeah,
so I know those are side chains. What are maybe some of your favorite projects you see going on in the U.S. right now?
Well, I always mention Ereo because I love them so much. They do such interesting things. That's one of my go-tos. What else? Scatter. I think everyone knows and loves the Scatter project. They make a wallet enabling plugin for securely managing keys on the local desktop operating system. I'm really looking forward to a mobile version of that.
Is that project?
Yeah, Scatter's a great project. Beyond that, I can't say much because I actually have been spending most of my time trying to talk to large holders and block producers, and I've been neglecting the DApp side pretty badly. I'm personally bored by gambling applications.
Yeah.
I find it's by definition zero-sum game at best. And if the house has house odds, then it's definitionally negative-sum game over time. Like, I like positive-sum games like commerce and trade and creation. And
Yeah.
free enterprise.
On the flip side, though, because you have all those gambling, your transactions per day, you just,
Oh yeah. Yeah. Hey, if they could run better elsewhere, they would.
Yeah.
The fact that they run so well, and the fact that blockchains generally provide you with the ability to trust the system rather than trust the individuals, it's very attractive. The downside is that a lot of these gambling apps have rolled out with very weak security models and very poor testing, and then they get hacked, and then they look like idiots, and it kind of looks bad for the community, frankly.
Going on, I have a question regarding the engineering side of EOS platform. Could you explain or just elaborate a little bit on the architecture, how this platform came about to be, and how was it developed? I would love to know.
I'm sorry, can you restate your question?
My question is for the engineering side of EOS platform. How was it built, or what was the architecture followed in building the software platform?
Well, that's a big question. So that's easy to answer.
Yeah. I'll tell you what little I know, and I'm not a software engineer. I'm a database architect by training. I used to work at Oracle Corporation and IBM Global Services. I did, the design and build out of, medium to large database solutions. I'm not a database coder. I don't write the engine of the database. I would use the Oracle software to write solutions. So I did have a chance to sit in the same room with all of the core code developers in Blacksburg.
Okay.
And I occasionally got to do some requirements work with them, and that was really cool. I couldn't understand what they wrote, but we could understand at the requirements level. And I will say that in talking with some guys I know and respect who've looked closely at the code, EOS is still in its infancy architecturally. It's a monolithic process. It's one great big process. It's got one memory space. It's got a little bit of multi-threading for checking signatures, but it's not the kind of sophisticated structure you'll see in, say, an Oracle 6.2 and beyond, where there were multiple processes that coordinated through a queuing system with shared memory and using latches and threads and the ability of a master process to monitor the other processes and recover them if they crashed, and the ability to split the work across multiple loosely coupled as well as tightly coupled systems. So there is so much room for growth in the core architecture, for speed, for reliability, for new features, and so on. It's
What do you happen to know? Any programming languages that the developers used? Or?
Oh, it's all C++.
Oh, it's C++. Okay.
Yeah. We end up hiring game developers and guys who work on missile control systems and satellite control systems and telecom. You have to write really tight code and understand memory addressing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
That's cool.
Yeah, they're hardcore. They're really hardcore.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I from a database aspect, it actually reminds me of what little I knew about IMS and IDMS, which were old IBM mainframe database systems, because you're not looking at relational tables in a nice query language. If you're programming an app, you're creating these really, you are defining your memory structure and you're walking lists and trees, and if you had to restructure your data structures in your DAP, it would be painful. And that's IMS all the way. Runs super fast, but you have to spend a lot of time coding and optimizing.
What do you say? Sorry, one last one.
Yeah,
I didn't hear the question.
Oh, I'm just I was going to ask a last question about the database. But do you happen to know if it's a hierarchical or anything?
Oh, it's totally hierarchical. Yeah, you're using C++ data structures.
Okay.
And I mean, it is low-level coding if you're writing dApps. What most people do, if they actually want to query anything out of an EOS-based system, is you write a separate like MongoDB that monitors the transactions and builds you nice relational tables you can look at.
Interesting.
Because otherwise you're in a lot of pain.
Since you mentioned that you worked for Oracle before and IBM, I wanted to ask what made you transition into working for Block One and going to BlackBerry.
I got a job offer
and do something a little more risky.
Well, I've been I worked for Oracle starting in 1989 for a couple of years, and then I worked for some small companies doing implementations of Oracle. I got recruited and ended up in IBM. I was just recruited into PricewaterhouseCoopers, and then IBM bought the consulting arm of PwC. So it was technically PwC for a little while. And I did that for a couple of years, and it was, cool. And it was big and bureaucratic. IBM's a huge company, and I kind of missed the smaller implementations. So I left around 2003 and went back and working in small boutique implementations of high-end software. And the reason I got into blockchain was because Block One was hiring, and they'd already hired David Moss, who I'd worked with back in the the 90s, building out solutions, and he knew me, I knew him. So when you're on a 9-month deadline to deliver like world-shattering code, you don't recruit people you don't know. You go to your network and you say, "We're the best people I knew." And so, I'm like racking my brain, and Dave's racking his brain, and we're going like, anybody we worked with in the prior 20 years who was available and really good tended to get fast-tracked.
Yeah.
We ended up with an excellent team, by the way, for that exact reason.
You mentioned about the room for growth that exists in EOS. Obviously, this is an important thing, and the thing that will drive that that adoption is really things like commerce. And I'd really be interested in hearing what StrongBlock is planning to turn out in that area. I'm particularly interested in some smaller applications. We have our FreeOps project is the thing we call Community Coin, where we can provide kind of local solutions on a public blockchain that would allow interoperability between different communities and kind of a community currency basis. But I mean, there's so many things that are required to, help to fill out that the use case. Can you tell me a little more about what's going on with the commerce solutions that solutions that you're doing at StrongBlock?
Well, I can't talk much about StrongBlock until we come out of stealth, which I think is going to be in just a few more weeks.
Great.
But in terms of community coins, I would say that some of the work done at Bancor is absolutely what you should be looking into. Galia Bernazzi is the CEO there, and she serves on the board of the EOS Alliance, and her organization also runs Liquid EOS, one of the big block producers. And they put together Bancor X, which provides bidirectional communication between Ethereum and EOS mainnets. And she had launched a community coin specifically, I think they were called Hearts, and it was specifically for people to trade, to keep track of when they would trade each other favors, like watching each other's kids.
Oh, okay.
Like really, really simple things, and it was a way to formalize some otherwise very informal relationships, and she contends it created a lot of wealth because eventually thousands and thousands of dollar equivalents of this community currency were minted and traded and redeemed for all kinds of mutual assistance in this small community where it was launched.
Absolutely. There's been a huge success in certain community coins. I mean, like the dollar, there's all kinds of examples of strong success there. And I think what they really were missing were a cryptographic solution where you didn't have to, be in touch with the person that you're trading with. Yeah. So I think there's a huge field open here, and we're with EOS trying to open that up.
Yeah. I think we're going to see a whole bunch more in the very near future. It's an exciting space.
Okay, great. So I'm interested because I have.
Oh, go ahead, Dan.
I have here as well. I just I wanted to just let everyone know about a little bit about FreeOS and a little bit about what we're doing, because I'm really looking for some top people to work with. We really need some people more involved with community outreach and market awareness of what we're doing. We're not ready yet we've got prototypes. We're not ready to release, show anybody it yet, but we're really looking for good people to help us promote the notions and to get some validation of the directions we're moving. So I want to just have anyone private message me or email me around your interest in being involved, or other people who are interested who already have a good kind of foundation in the ES community to help us do that.
Okay, and the best way to reach you is through the Meetup app right now, or would you like to share your email, or?
That's fine. Do we have a chat group here, or a chat box that we can? I don't think.
Yeah, if you go down to the bottom, there's a couple of buttons.
Okay, I'll add my email there to that. Let's see, group chat. Okay, I see that here.
Hey, could this newbie ask a really stupid question, please?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. For more than a decade, I was at Reuters America. I was one of the architects of the D2000 money trading system way back in the day when we had the 1929 crash and the laws came out of it, one of which is banks were stipulated that they had to keep a certain amount of currency in cash. However, nothing ever specified what currency that cash had to be in. Subsequently, that gave birth to currency trading. Before there was the euro, you had the Italian lira, you had the German Deutschmark, you had the French franc, the Belgian franc. We used to make thousands of trades a day. We used to use a VAX later on an Alpha 64-bit cluster with Sybase as a central party VMS. I was the architect of that. And we were thousands of trades. I mean, you needed 1 million to get in.
Yeah.
So when you said, I want in, you're going to trade $1 million. So you get 10 million yen for whatever the going rate for the British pound, the English pound or something. We made the trade. We were the trader, and wherever the cluster was, computer cluster, that's where the trade was taxed. Okay. Because that's where it resided. We had a backup system in Reuters and in London, and we had a backup site to that in Geneva.
Right.
But the point of it is what I just described, the trading of currencies. How do you see that? Do you see something like that coming out of all these virtual currencies? I'll give you so much Ethereum for so many blockchain.
Goes on every day.
Bitcoins or something, just swapping it back and forth.
Who has a thought for Chris on that? Or not Chris, I'm sorry. You're muted.
His name's John.
Hey, John. Yeah, I'll tell you, I think it's happening now. We just may not know about it yet. But
yeah. I mean, I think behind the scenes, all of the the exchanges and all of the money markets that are going on, they're all playing these games with all of the currencies, and it's already already happening. You'll look to see some regulations in the next year or two or three at this rate, but it's certainly going on right now. And Chris, if you're still listening to us, you're on mute. No, not listening to us. Okay.
Okay.
Anything else anyone would like to hear about from me before I drop out? I got this other meeting I got to pop into.
I would love to connect over LinkedIn, or if that's okay with you, Thomas.
Oh yeah, sure, of course. Yeah, Thomas B. Cox.
Right.
I'll put my LinkedIn link into the chat here, since it's not always super obvious how you get it to people.
Thank you, Thomas, for connecting today.
Oh, of course. My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me. Let me find.
Thank you, Tom.
Chat, group chat. Group chat. There you have
Thank
it.
you.
Yep, knock yourself out.
So I guess, Thomas, one last question before you go. You a blockchain enthusiast or an EOS enthusiast? Because the EOS enthusiasts tend to be solo EOS.
I tell you, I was originally just a Bitcoin person. I'm much more of a technologist. Multiple currencies and stuff. It's like, I'm kind of out of my wheelhouse, really. And I kind of got like theoretically why people would want it. And then when I started working, doing the work I've been doing with the Alliance, and I had to start paying vendors in multiple countries, and I'm like, what, 4 days and $60 for a wire transfer? You've got to be shitting me. And then I could like move, Bitcoin in an hour or two, and ETH or EOS a whole lot faster. I'm like, why would I do anything else? So for certain kinds of international transactions, I would go out of my way to avoid the traditional banking system, just because I'm converting in and out of fiat, and I'll hold Tether because I don't like being exposed to fluctuation risk, but I got really spoiled really quick.
Okay, so it's more of the transfer of value that
Yeah, I'm not a speculator. I don't care for speculation, and I'm not a doomsday guy. And I will say that if the bad trends start outweighing the good ones, at least I'm prepared to flee from fiat to something more cryptographically secured and resistant to the overreaching nation state.
Makes sense.
We'll see how bad things get.
Yeah, but fingers crossed.
I'm more of a technologist than anything else.
Okay.
Thank you all very much. See you guys around. Ciao.
Thank you, Thomas.
Bye-bye.
Oh, that's cool. His screen froze as he's thinking about it. That's like the virtual call mic drop.
To EOS while building that DApp when looking for a blockchain to run that application on.
I'm sorry, I'm losing my power here on my screen just went blank, so I don't know if I'm losing.
And he's gone. That's pretty fun. That was almost as good as the frozen screen mic drop.
Yeah. I sent a link to the group chat. I don't know if any of you heard of this yet, but Block One recently issued a patent for something called EOS, which to me sounds a lot like Steemit 2.0.
Yeah.
So, have you heard about it? Or?
I'm excited. Yeah, they've had the patent for, I think, a little bit now, but yeah, I think that's going to be their social media platform. What that entails is yet to be seen, but I'm really excited for that. That's definitely going to be an interesting one.
Be pretty big.
Yeah, and I know their wallet is going to be more than a wallet and have a lot of functionality to it. By the end
why do you guys think a social platform needs to be on a blockchain? Is that for the identity, or for a reward system, or
for immutability and for the reward system to function?
It's cutting out the middleman. It's pretty much saying, F you to Mark Zuckerberg, to be quite honest with you. I mean, they make billions of dollars for our own content that we post and our own interaction. So the blockchain to me is something that it cuts out middlemen. And Uber, all these big companies are going to find themselves in a situation where the smart contracts can run the inner workings of the company, and then the token holders get actually the distribution of the wealth. So it's a new token economy, I would say, for pretty much most businesses, which is what Chris was talking about before. Really repaving the way for new Internet 3.0. If you really talk about EOS, what it really is. It's Internet 3.0, so it's going to be, EOS could be Steemit 2.0, but it also could be the Facebook killer eventually. I think I'm a little bit probably overly enthusiastic about it, but coming out with the Block One app, it's going to use the secure enclave in the iPhone. It's actually going to, the secure enclave in the app of the iPhone is actually air gapped, so it actually cannot be hacked. So once they're, I don't know why they're taking so long, but once they start dropping all this stuff, you're going to have the resource exchange. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but the Rex is coming out, the Block One app, mobile app, along with Meos. I mean, you could really see, I think they don't want to do this probably in a bear market, so they're probably, kind of holding this stuff off, but it's like a stretched rubber band. Once all this stuff hits, Rex hits, the Secure Enclave Apple wallet from Block One, and then you get Meos coming in. I mean,
I'm sorry, what is Meos? What is their function? Maybe I have some familiarity with what Steemit is doing, and I know they're rewarding content through their Steemit tokens. What is Meos?
I think Meos would be more, I think Steemit right now is more just like more of a content posting, more like a medium, I guess, with token economics in it. I think I see Meos as more of a Facebook, more interaction. So it would be more, people would post their daily activities and what they're doing on a daily basis, more than just content posting like blogging. So Steemit is more like a blog token economic system. So I think Steemit 2.0 is going to come out from, actually, his name's Stan Larimer, which is his dad. I think Dad's probably going to take 2.0, but I think that.
I mean, the dude must have just put on a beard and called himself Stan.
Actually, young Dan learned pretty much. They're both geniuses, but it's where he really learned most of his computer science. I'm not a programmer, but it's where he learned a lot of his computer engineering from his father. So. They definitely have bounced off each other for quite a number of years. I see Steemit 2.0 being maybe like a Dad Larimer type of project, but I think Meos is more going to be a Block One rollout that's going to rival probably, or try and rival like a Facebook. Facebook came out and kind of just steamrolled MySpace pretty quickly. You could definitely see stuff like that when there's again, token economics is really important. So when actually people can post and make money, we're literally true money from it. It's your content and you can make money from it. So I see that as being a true value.
Yeah. I mean, there's not too much information out yet. I think the patent's the only thing out about Meos so far.
Yeah, we can only speculate right now.
Yeah.
But
Also,
yeah,
I think,
in general, the reward system for contributing to society, I think, is going to be where blockchain accelerates. Is, right now it's you're not rewarded for the value that you add to society in any way. It's really basically either work or you have lots of money and you trade that money around to make more money. There's two types of people. That's how you make money in this world. And truly, you should be rewarded for how much you contribute and how much value you add to the world. And I think blockchain is going to be able to do that to where you can monetize the value that you're added and to other people and to your community, and then be able to use those coins, that community coin, however you do acquire it, and use it how you feel freely. So, we've had this conversation in the past going back to trading chickens for cows. So and so raises chickens, that's what's valuable to him. So and so raises cows, that's what's valuable to him. So you swap what's the coin or the community coin that's most valuable to you. That's where I see it going in 10 to 20 years. Also, a lot of other things as well. That's more on the reward side and value aspect, but just for decentralizing all systems in general, getting rid of that middleman.
So if you think about Facebook on a blockchain, which is, I guess, what I'm going to apply Meos to be, because there's not much information on it. How would you establish a value of your content? How would you identify how much first of all, and I'm going to speak from my knowledge on the Brave browser, because I know that a little bit more. They have the BAT token, and they're trying to do something very similar where you reward the content by who's actually viewing the content. But they have the challenge of who's initially giving you the value in the first place. Why should I take my BAT or whatever it is? BAT is a representative of value. So why should I take my US dollars and why should I give it to you when I can see it for free on the internet? That's what the internet has been. If there's always an opportunity to be free, I'm going to take that route. So, I guess my question for Meos and Facebook on an EOS platform, how are we really going to transfer the value? How are you going to define the value and transfer it?
Well, it's not, it doesn't cost you any money. So your efforts that someone would do on Facebook right now, it's just interacting with, I guess you could say, the blockchain. So it's just your daily interaction on the blockchain. The token economics behind that would actually allow you to acquire those tokens in that token economic system. And then over a distributed amount of time, the people who, if you hold on to something, it's considered valuable. So
who are they acquiring them from?
What do you mean?
Well, if I put content out there and you're saying I'm going to acquire the token, who's going to give it to me?
The smart contract, by interacting with it, by posting, just say, and again, pure speculation, you post a 3 megabyte video that gets 15 likes, that smart contract would be activated and saying you're contributing to the network, you're therefore we're going to give you.
Who's going to give you? And I keep focusing on that. Is that they're going to just mint new coins in order to give it to you, or?
Put it in the smart contract, just like Steemit is right now. Steemit right now is you get, for upvoting and for interaction with the community, you actually are distributed Steem tokens. And it's completely done without anyone pushing buttons and controlling. It's just a smart contract, which is, again, it's just a.
So are they minting them, or are they transferring them from a vault?
Yeah. I don't want to interrupt, but I think it would work similar to how Steemit does, where the users decide who gets to they reward inflation. They decide who gets rewarded in inflation. I think, I don't know what the inflation rate on Steemit is, but their consensus mechanism is proof of brain. So the amount of upvotes and highly reputable upvotes you have on your post, the more you'll get rewarded in inflation. So yeah, it would be minting new coins. And I think it would be similar with how the worker proposal system is going on EOS with all the block producers. I don't know if you know anything about that, but it's basically all the block producers, or a team of them at least, are creating kind of
you cut out. Mute.
We lost you on mute. Yeah, you're muted. There you go.
Am I good? Oh,
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Oh, sorry. I don't know how much I lost, but basically, yeah, all the block producers are putting out all these developer jobs. Beginning, I don't know what they're just gonna put out software problems that they need to be solved, and then anybody could voluntarily go and solve those problems, and then it could be reviewed by the block producers, and in return they'll get delegated some EOS or paid some EOS for completing the projects.
Greg, I think of a world, this is what I used to say back in the day, this is why EOS is so special to me, but it's if all your content, if I told a system everything, what kind of phone I had, what kind of MacBook I had, where I shopped, where I went, all that information, if I had that stored, and then a marketing company wanted to access that information, they would have to pay me for it. A system like that, where if you want to get to me, you don't have to pay Facebook, you pay me directly. So right now, if I wanted to get to you, I could do a lookalike group. I market on Facebook. I said, give me a lookalike group like these emails or this type of person. Give me a 16 to 35-year-old male who has an iPhone. Think of that, but instead of paying Facebook, now you get paid. If I want to market to you, I pay you because it's your information, it's your data. So aside from all the complexities of it, it's more or less saying it's just really about cutting out the middleman. Facebook works. I mean, Facebook, is a multi-billion-dollar company. Not to say it's not hard to do, but blockchain can literally eliminate all the middlemen, meaning Facebook doesn't make any of the money. It's a billion-dollar company. It all goes back to you and whoever else interacts with it because it's your data, it's your information, and you're allowing somebody to market to you. It's controlling that information in a smart contract. That would pretty much make the token economics work, where someone's money coming from the outside is actually being distributed into a pool of value that you get to extract.
So then that's not necessarily where you're minting new coin in order to give it to the content producer. You're actually speaking of a holder of value of the coin, appreciating the content and almost like donating their coin to you as the content producer. The incentive there for the holder is a challenge.
Well, I don't think nobody's giving coin away. You're just liking a post, and then through, like Tanner had said, through inflation, through those newly minted coins, those are rewarded to the people that are adding the most value during a specific period through a smart contract.
And does EOS burn coins in order to keep inflation at bay? Because if you continue to inflate the coin, eventually it's just going to become worthless.
Well, yeah. I don't know how EOS is going to work, but Steemit has like 3 different tokens on the platform. So the most basic level token is the Steem, which that's one that's like has really high inflation, and I forgot what rates Dan Larimer set, but sorry, I'm getting some feedback. But basically, you would get that the basic Steem when you make a content post or something. People upload your post, you get the Steem, and then you're responsible for converting that Steem into Steem dollars, which are more stable. And then through Steem dollars, that's actually the crypto that you could transact and like trade for Bitcoins or other cryptos. And like the basic Steem, it does deflate in value over time. And I think I remember reading through how Steem works because I was like super interested. But I think like after a certain amount of years, the total circulation of Steem coins like splits in half, and then the value of them I think is multiplied by 10. I forgot how it works, but basically over a period of time.
And you're gone. You cut out again.
I don't know why.
You're on mute. There you go.
Yeah, I don't know why that keeps happening. But yeah, basically, like after a certain amount of years, like the Steem is burned and it just dilutes in value. So that's why I think Dan created like 2 other currencies, and I think the third one is called Steem Power, which is basically just you can stake your own like wealth, so you could have higher upvotes, and basically it's for whales to like support content creators that they like and give them more steam.
It's pretty much, we don't know how it's going to be done with the EOS yet. We have no idea. We're assuming that it's going to be done with some type of inflation, but it's still to be determined because it's not even released yet. So
yeah.
So I want to grab Arunesh's chat question. He says, do people on the call have a view on the potential of blockchain or any similar technology to replace the middle and back office systems? I know quite a few fintech firms are working towards making it a reality. I mean, I'm not sure I'm reading it correctly, but what blockchain does is it is the elimination of the middle and the back office systems. You don't need to, middle and back office systems are basically the transfer of data from one component of an organization to some of the other components of the organization, or, data goes up or data goes down. What blockchain will do is everyone has access to all of the data at all of the time. So I hope that's answering your question.
Hey, I have a little something to add to that question. The way I think about that system and some of the areas I've been interested in are things like ERP software systems and specifically EDI systems that integrate with various systems throughout different organizations. And I know I come from an organization that does a lot of EDI transactions. What that means is it's basically computers talking to computers and placing orders with each other based on demand and other systems that are running and calculating the demand. We pay pretty hefty fees to be able to be on what's called a value-added network, this VAN. And over time, back in the day, it used to be before the internet, this used to actually be a pretty value-added van where there were these networks built specifically for these transactions. Now they're still enjoying all these transaction fees, but they're running it over the internet. So their costs are greatly decreased, but they're still charging a lot of people. They actually charge per kilo character, if that even makes sense. So per 1,000 characters, they're charging of these transactions. So I'm really interested in EDI, electronic document interchange, and how blockchain technologies can possibly completely revolutionize that, where there would be a clear cost savings to a lot of these organizations. The problem with that I see is that a lot of these larger organizations drove the adoption of those technologies, like the Walmarts and the Amazons of the world. That's how they do primarily all their ordering systems. So to get the littler guys to change, the big guys have to adopt, and it's kind of a chicken and egg thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of the 2 cents I have on that.
No,
and Aranish, it looks like from your chats you're talking more of the financial system, and that's why this was created in the first place, is to eliminate the need for moving the data, the banks exist, the credit card processors exist, all of this financial infrastructure exists because the data is immense and it needs to centralize in some capacity in order to be relied upon. What blockchain ended up doing, it's effectively cash. Bitcoin in its first instance it is cash. I have a ledger that has 100 Bitcoin in it. I want to give you a component, and through the executable data file, I give you take it, and the transaction is done. We don't need to go into a bank that says, okay, what you had 100 at this exact time, and therefore you submitted a check, and the check got cleared, and they put a hold on your account, and then it went to the end user. That doesn't need to take place. What you have now is just a straight cash transaction, just digitized.
Yeah, I think firms like DTCC, I think we actually have somebody in our community that works for them, and they made a comment at one of the meetups regarding just the sheer scale of what they're doing today in those clearinghouses. And I think they are looking at blockchain, but I think right now it's just nowhere near where they to be able to do what they're doing. I mean, you're talking millions of transactions per second that these guys are cooking through, right? And I don't think any of these firms are close to ready to be able to use any of these technologies just yet.
Yeah, and that's just on the transaction volume. I mean, we spoke a little bit before about the I always have a problem with this word, but the anonymity. But if you can't, people rely on being able to secure their data, secure their information, and blockchains are pseudo anonymous. It's just not there. We are definitely in the infancy of what blockchain technologies can do, and it's pretty interesting when you think about it. I was just doing research for our call next week, which I hope you guys will all join, on payment services, and I was looking at the e-caches that have been in development for the last 30-40 years. You have something called DigiCash, which was one of the first ones back in 1989, and it had a life cycle of only 10 years. It went through its entire life cycle in 10 years. Bitcoin is already 10 years old, and we look at it and we say, we are just beginning. The technology behind it is only at its infancy. So it speaks to the staying power and what we're doing here.
I think hello. I'm sorry, I had to muted for a while. I think we need to have a product that could really create or captivate the minds of the people out there, the common man, to educate them on the importance of blockchain. And like before I got my current job, I was interviewing for 4 jobs that had small startups using blockchain technology, and they really needed heavy programmers who were it was extremely competitive to basically get into it. So I mean, given a choice, I would have preferred to work in blockchain if I had gotten that opportunity, is what I'm saying. And we basically need to, educate the people out there how important blockchain is. So take small steps, and step by step within the next few years, we could probably get somewhere as blockchain technologists spreading the message out there for the community.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree with what you said too, Craig, about Bitcoin being cash. And I think the only difference is that Bitcoin is harder to use and a lot slower. So, and I think it's really about like building something that could live within the current system and over time just like push out all the older systems and the older rules.
Yeah, like the
So it's
internet.
really important to, go on.
Over 30 years to get to where we are now with the internet and being able to just pull this out and do whatever you want on your phone. That took 30 years to get to. I think, you see blockchain 10, 20, 30 years from now, it's going to be completely different. It's going to be running everything behind the scenes like the internet does now, the lighting, everything.
Well, we better figure out the scale then, because if we have blockchains turning on my light switches, they need to be a lot faster than 12-minute transactions.
You have to figure out a consensus. Yeah.
Hey, Chris. Hey, how you doing?
Just in the middle of a meeting.
I think we're getting to the point now where, when we say mass adoption, I think it's like when people don't realize they're using it. And I think we're almost there. It's onboarding and private key, all this other stuff that people really don't have the technical know-how to do. When we reach a point where people can know about it or not know about it, it doesn't matter. They log on and they go about their business on the internet. That's when things are going to start taking off, and it's taken a long time to get to that point. I mean, probably the third iteration, I guess you could say, of blockchain. The first things you guys were talking about, the e-caches, then you had Bitcoin, which really, still to this day has shown that its technology's out of this world. But then Ethereum came out, which is like blockchain 2.0. I do really feel personally, EOS is the 3.0 blockchain. It's sometimes you don't want to be too early. This is really taking all the good things about a lot of the technology and kind of proof of work. It still leads to centralization. It's heavy on electricity and ASICs. I mine cryptocurrencies now, and it's a lot of electricity, and it's not that it's not that profitable, to be quite honest with you. So this type of delegated proof of stake, like Craig, you were talking about before, that is only because proof of work from Ethereum is shown to be just too slow.
It's not even there yet.
And you can have a Lightning Network on Bitcoin, which is going to be great, but Bitcoin's more of a currency store of value. And then we're really kind of getting into what's going to run the new internet. And if you want to ask your questions, what's going to run the new internet? Yeah, could it be a Cardano? Could it be a Tron? It could be. EOS has got the most money, the smartest people behind the projects. It's going to take off. No one's going to even be able to catch it, in my opinion. It's already just too much infrastructure. There's too many people that have ported from Ethereum to EOS. No other system stands a chance until a new one comes out, and then at that point I'll be all ears. But at this point, the Internet 3.0 is EOS, in my opinion, and I think that a lot of things are going to start getting onto there, but it's not going to be something that you're going to know you're even doing for the end user. They're just going to download an app on the iPhones or the App Store and play video games and make money. The new Twitches and the new whatever the kids are doing nowadays. But I could see Call of Duty. I used to play Call of Duty. Call of Duty being on there, meaning it's just that gamification of everything. But what they call non-fungible tokens, NFTs, like World of Warcraft, which really kind of what started Mt. Gox in the first place on Bitcoin, which is really just a way to send digital goods back and forth over the internet. We're kind of going to go full circle with that, I think. That's a whole other conversation, but
I agree. I really think EOS has like a really good position to be a leader in the market because of, I think it really comes down to the human aspect of it, and like EOS already has like the best voting systems out there. Like I know that the team spent a lot of time on that, and like they're even better than I would say they're better than the voting system that we use in like current governments today, with the voter decay and like the continuous voting and all that. And I think the reason it could really scale and like Ethereum and Bitcoin really focused on like taking the man out of the equation, and just doing everything by machine. And EOS is it's really embracing the good parts of human nature, and where you can elect kind of like a board of people to manage the whole network, and you can delegate tokens to other people. You could stake your own tokens instead of paying fees to transact on the network. So I think that really that's a huge part about why I like want to develop on EOS and get more into the space. So yeah.
Nice. So we're getting on about an hour and a half now. Does anybody have any other questions or topics they'd like to go over real quick before we start to wrap it up? No? All right. So I know me and Tanner had been discussing having a meetup at Stony Brook, try to get some college kids on board with EOS, and me and Tanner are kind of working on a DApp ourselves. So we're trying to maybe recruit some more people that would want to join us in that adventure. But that's where our next one's going to be. We're probably thinking sometime in February, in the next 2 or 3 weeks, depending on where we can get a room and anything like that. So keep a lookout on Meetup. I'll definitely be posting it there once we determine the location and the date and time. So I thank everybody for coming. I really appreciate the time commitment coming late. And we'll definitely have another one of these in the near future. If you have any suggestions for me, please reach out on the Meetup app. You can reach out to me directly there.
Go register for us on Long Island Blockchain Council. It's liblockchain.org. We'll send out a newsletter, and EOS Long Island is one of the entities under our organization, but we're blockchain agnostic. Anyone that wants to start working in it, we want to hear from you. And join us next week. We're doing a cool conversation on blockchain payment services. There already exist some really cool tools so that existing retail businesses should start accepting cryptocurrencies, and they can settle it immediately in US dollars. And from my personal experience, that's how you're going to promote the adoption. Just get enough people acknowledging it in your day-to-day life, and the adoption will come.
Yeah, Craig, I'm very interested in that as well for myself. So I'll definitely reach out to you, because I agree with you. That's one of the things that I feel like is obviously is missing. Is if you can't pay for anything or buy anything with it, then what's the point? So I come from.
But we can, and we'll, like I said, we'll talk about it next week. But we can buy with it immediately. You've seen these organizations. Overstock is using it. Yeah. It's there. It's just we all need to march to the same end state.
Yeah, I'm a Pundy X. Like I'm always out there looking for who's gonna do it.
Pundy X. We looked into them, and they're just all so much promise, but I haven't seen an actual product. They don't actually exist.
I agree, but if I see a terminal that works, I'm like almost like yeah, that's what we need.
That's what we need.
Whoever ends up winning is fine with me.
Well, we're promoting a lot of the. Coinbase has their merchant services out there, and BitPay exists right now, and we're doing a lot of exploration on how we can start using that. So more to come next week.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think I'm going to sign off. Thanks for putting this together, guys. Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks, Tanner.
Hey, Tanner.
Thank you for having us.
Have a good one. Thank you.
All right.
All right, guys.
All right, we're going to wrap it up. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.